Well, good evening and welcome to number 75 of 100 of these short messages on breakthrough. Yeah, number 75 of 100 of these short messages. And, decided I'd just have a run through, a little canter through my book, Kisses from a Good God, because it's my breakthrough journey. And get to chapter 11 and restored fortunes. And this is quite extraordinary. This is from the book of Job, and we all know the story of Job and how he lost everything. And there are some incredible lessons from the book of Job, not least that when he lost everything, this was what he did. He fell to the ground and he worshipped. And it's hard reading, of course, the book of Job, isn't it? But it's a year of his life. Terrible, tragic year of his life. But at the end, what we see is this incredible picture of the restoration of everything. But not just that, it's the double. Really is quite extraordinary. There's somewhere in here just the most extraordinary promise for us all, to not quit, to not give up on the restoration of all things. It's his nature. One of my favorite verses in the Bible is about David when it talks about pursue, overtake, recover all. And that's the Father's heart for us. But here with Job, we have this extraordinary thing that everything is doubled except the number of children, where he gets exactly the same number again, 4 sons and 3 daughters, which is what he lost. And there's a beautiful truth in there, and that is that souls are for eternity, so you don't need to double those. You double the crops and all of that kind of stuff. And the family all showed up and bought all the gifts. But the reason why this is in there for me is that it's just a beautiful picture of what it looks like when things get restored. And it's just a promise for us from what is probably the oldest book in the Bible. We get this promise of everything restored. And here, just hidden, and I love this, hidden in the name of the 3 daughters, which, ladies, this is a beautiful promise for you, because I think it's the only place in the Bible where the sons aren't named, but the daughters are. And the daughters are Karen, Jemima and Kezia, and they're actually a picture of the end-time bride of Christ. If you study their names and the meaning of their names, they're actually a beautiful picture of the end-time bride of Christ. So that's all wrapped up in there as well, hidden in this extraordinary book of Job. And Job, it contains one of my favorite verses. Would you believe Job contains this promise, which is one of my favorite promises, but it contains one of my favorite verses where Job says, I know that my Redeemer lives. Isn't that extraordinary? And there are just so many other things like, can you command the dawn is one of the great phrases, one of the great questions of Job. But here's what I want you to see is that actually what happened in our lives that followed on from last night's chapter with family, God's big idea, is we saw the restoration of our family line, of there being 3 male Manwarings alive at the same time. And, I believe that what we need to do as we press in for our breakthrough is to begin to declare begin to declare justice. And justice isn't it's not earth's justice. Justice is the restoration. We are justified by Christ. Some use the phrase just as if I'd never sinned. But actually justified is an engineering term, and it means to be aligned. And it's a really, really beautiful picture. And actually the greatest act of justice that there ever was is the cross of Jesus, which is also the greatest act of injustice that there ever was. And as a result of that, we are justified. And here's every one of us today is justifying something, whereas in the past we didn't. Probably, only the engineers knew it, but today it's not just an engineering term, but it's become a technological term, because you justify the text on your computer, which means you line it up with the edge of the page, either left, center, or right justified. And so we need to start declaring justice over our lives, justice over our circumstances. And just as it was in the case of Job, when there is complete restored fortunes, let's begin to declare the justice of heaven, which comes packed, brimmed full with blessing as well. But let's declare the justice of heaven, so that we can come into right alignment, lined up, as it were, with the edge of the page. So whatever happened to you, whatever crisis, whatever tragedy, let's take this picture of Job, who lost so much, who fell to his knees and worshipped, who declared, I know that my Redeemer lived, who understood how small he was compared with God, who could command the dawn, who saw everything restored at the end of his life. And if unrighteousness is silenced, which is a beautiful verse, and one that I absolutely love, in Job 5:16, it says this: so the helpless has hope, and unrighteousness must shut its mouth. It is a deep truth that when helpless find hope, and you might feel helpless right now, but when the helpless find hope, not an answer, not even the promise of one, but hope, an earnest expectation of good, unrighteousness is silenced. And if unrighteousness is silenced, there can only be one consequence, and that is that the voice of righteousness can be heard. Job found hope in a helpless place. Unrighteousness was silenced, and his fortunes were restored. I want to just encourage you to find hope and declare hope, so that you can step into the place of being lined up with heaven. And I see people on here that I know need a breakthrough. I know they need a breakthrough. And I just want to declare right now over you that you might feel helpless right now, but I pray that you will find hope, and that unrighteousness will be silenced, which means the voice of righteousness over your life is shouted loud and clear. And that comes by pursuing justice, alignment with heaven, the God of all hope. So bless you. Have a great rest of your day, and believe this with me, that just as it was with Job, his fortunes were restored, it can be with you, and it can be with me. And to God be the glory. Amen.